Welcome to episode 6 of the Fighter Series here on Boxing Media Hub, coming to you live from Cincinnati, Ohio in the United States of America. Today, we salute to a fighter who recently passed not too long ago. It was the tough and durable Greg Haugen. Born in Auburn, Washington, who lives part of his career in Seattle, had over 300 amateur fights, who basically quit when he was 15, but resumed his amateur career in 1980, where he competed in the Olympic trials in Spokane, Washington, and won a bronze medal. Basically known as a very, very tough guy who backs down from no one, fought and beat all comers as a professional. It basically took on the best at the very best, something no fighter can really say. Basically, his career, his coming out party took off in 1986 when he upset a standout fighter named Jimmy Paul to win one of his 3 world titles in his 2 weight classes by unanimous decision in Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas, when he moved to Las Vegas later on to pursue his professional boxing career. After that, basically what he was known for at that time was the epic 3-fight network TV series with the standout and tough Vinny Pazienza. I mean, you can talk about bad blood all you want in the sport of boxing, because sometimes it's hyperbole, sometimes it's real warranted. But in this case, with Vinny Pazienza and Greg Haugen, it was real life bad blood. And basically, Greg Haugen was willing to just get into the skin of Vinny Pazienza, and because he was a pest when it came to selling fights, that's what he did here. And their first fight in 1987 in Providence, Rhode Island, was a massive hit here in the States when network TV was big at a time when over here in the States, all you had to do was flip the TV channel and just turn on to the local networks so you can see live boxing for free. That's what the first Vinny Pazienza Greg Haugen fight was. And Greg Haugen, even though he lost a decision, managed to acquit himself quite well. Now they would have a rematch later on in Phoenix. Greg Haugen would beat Vinny Pazienza to regain the championship. And after that, he went to Hampton, Virginia to fight the legendary Pernell Whitaker in a fight where basically he was just overwhelmed from start to finish. But the thing here was Greg Haugen was not afraid to go to the backyard of an all-time great in Pernell Whitaker and basically did the best he could. But as everybody in the fight game knows, we're talking about one of the 25 greatest fighters of all time in Pernell Whitaker, who basically just schooled and beat the brakes off of Greg Haugen. Of course, a comment here. Salute from Bristol. A salute to you also. Salute from Cincinnati. Hope you're doing well over there. Big ups to Serhan. Respect to Greg Haugen. Love Vinny Paz too. Oh, 2 made-for-TV fighters. Those 2 guys, Vinny Pazienza and Greg Haugen. And when they had that trilogy from 87 to 90, it was basically on free TV. Everybody wanted to watch it. Of course, Haugen later on to... I want to get to that one here. Good point. It was probably his biggest moment in 91 when he upset Hector Camacho, which at the time put a monkey wrench in the all undefeated fight between Hector Camacho and Julio Cesar Chavez at the time. This is back in February of 99, but he tested positive. He said tested positive for marijuana, which at that time was an illegal substance. And basically he was stripped of the title. It would lead to the rematch down the line with those 2. I tell you that that crowd there, I'm sure because you was there, from what I saw on TV, it was electric. It was actually, if I'm correct, that area was packed at Providence, Rhode Island, who basically sold the house because those 2 guys did a whale of a job selling Pazienza Haugen back in 1987. I think that's with the 86 or 87. I can't remember which, but that's when it sold the Civic Center, and it was electric. And over here in the States, it was on free TV, nationwide television on NBC. Of course, the landmark moment, as you talked about with Greg Haugen, in 1991, as a sizable underdog, shocked Hector Camacho in one of the most bizarre incidents where he refused to touch gloves to come out for the 12th round to get into Hector Camacho's skin, which worked. It was on a Sunday afternoon, which worked because Camacho swung and had a point deducted, and that point was beneficial in giving Haugen the win. But as you said earlier, he tested positive for marijuana, which at that time it was an illegal substance. Got him stripped of the title, which of course you said he was fined $25,000. Got a rematch with Camacho in a fight where Camacho started strong, but Haugen came on out of nowhere. I mean, he came on, and every time he hit Camacho, Camacho would grab and hold. and looked like Haugen might have been able to pull off a knockout win late in that fight, but Haugen just ran out of time, and Camacho got the split decision win. But he got back in '92. He beat a woefully faded Ray Boom Boom Mancini in a fight that you can see probably didn't have any business taking place, simply because Ray Mancini was basically past it. But it was a good one for Haugen nonetheless. Set up the giant fight at Azteca Stadium, February 20th, 1993, when he went into the Lion's Den of 132,247 people when he fought the great Julio Cesar Chavez in his backyard. That was at a time when Chavez ascended to the mantra of the best fighter in the world, pound for pound. Now, Haugen, who always gives an honest effort against anybody he fights, was a case where in this fight he was in over his head because, we talk about one of the 25 to 30 greatest fighters of all time in Julio Cesar Chavez, who basically just demolished Greg Haugen and stopped him in 5 rounds. I should acknowledge the only time in Greg Haugen's career that he was stopped, which, he didn't help his own cause with all the insults he threw at Chavez, his record, his career, his country. Basically, Haugen just laid it on him from the first round on, floored him for the first punch of the fight, basically just carried him on, and Chavez stopped him in the 5th. But he had another chance in 1994 against Tony Lopez, and what was a pretty darn good fight for two guys who were basically on a downturn and maybe a weight class or two above their best. But Lopez just gradually wore Haugen down and basically beat him in the 10th round to win that particular fight. But Greg Haugen, for the better half of his career, one of the toughest guys you'll ever see. Real good at selling fights when it comes to promoting fights, and that's what he did with his 3 fights with Vinny Pazienza and, of course, with Julio Cesar Chavez. Fought the very, very best at the 135 and 140-pound divisions at the time when nobody wants to fight the best. He fought Pernell Whitaker and Julio Cesar Chavez at their best when they were contending for that number 1 fighter, pound for pound of the sport. And of course, at the end of his career, he had a 3-fight series in all Washington with a fighter named Paul Nav. It went 1-1-1. Where basically after the 3rd fight, Greg Haugen, even though he got the win, the fight was turned to a no contest after another failed drug test. It essentially retired at that point in 1998. But a fighter who won 40 fights, 3 world titles in 2 weight classes, won a bronze medal in the Olympic trials in Spokane, Washington, had over 300 amateur fights, and a boatload of tough man contests that doesn't get talked about enough. Was basically fighting guys basically bigger than him and not backing down. One of the durable and well-respected fighters who basically gave his best, fought his best. It was also must-see TV whenever you watched him on any of the networks, whether it be Free TV or ESPN, because he had several fights on the Top Rank network on ESPN. Fought, of course, the 2 fights with Hector Camacho on HBO, a Showtime with Julio Cesar Chavez. But whenever he got on a TV set, he was another one of those kind of guys you like to watch because he always gave an honest effort, never backed down from anyone, and basically was a top man. And I just conclude by saying, may Greg Haugen rest in peace. Good fighter, good man. Well, a tough loss for the boxing community, obviously, because he was a heck of a contributor for what was worse. Drugs were his worst enemy, absolutely. I mean, not the first time we heard it, but not the last. I mean, that's how tough guys don't dance, Haugen Mancini. That was a pretty darn good fight. The only thing that was sort of sad out of that was Mancini was on his downturn, but not that I want to take anything away from Greg Haugen because I'm not using today for it because we're just going to salute a very, very tough guy. And he said, tough guys don't dance. That's Greg Haugen in a nutshell. A tough guy who didn't dance, a tough guy who wanted to fight anybody, anywhere, and didn't back down. Greg Haugen was a very, very sound fighter, a terrific one to watch. May Greg Haugen rest in peace. And that is it for episode 6 of the Fighter Series on Boxing Media Hub. Hope everyone had themselves a wonderful rest of the day. Good night. Take care, and God bless.